Well, joining us now to break this down is Dalia Ziada. She's an Egyptian scholar and a senior fellow at the Jerusalem Center for Security and Foreign Affairs. Now, Dalia, let's start with this. How does the Egyptian government actually view the Gaza crisis behind closed doors, and how does that differ from what we hear publicly?
Thank you so much, Natasha, for having me. Always a pleasure to be with you. The issue is that actually Sinai has always been a problematic area for Egypt, and it's mainly a problematic area because of its neighborhood with Gaza, where Hamas exists. So although actually you can hear in the media all types of support to the Gazans by the Egyptian government and by the Egyptian people, they still wouldn't allow or let the people in Gaza, including those who want to come even for medical aid or humanitarian aid or so, to get into Sinai, not out of fear of the economic burden of more refugees coming into Egypt, but actually out of fear of this resulting in any confrontation with Israel, which actually Egypt is trying to avoid by all means, regardless of its of the optics of its military buildup now in Sinai.
Now, there has been a significant troop buildup in Sinai with Israeli coordination. What is driving this military strategy, and how much of it is about domestic optics? I mean, I know that you just mentioned this, but versus real security threats?
So actually, Egypt's biggest concern when it comes to Sinai actually is that, especially from the perspective of the Egyptian government and the Egyptian military, they fear an influx of refugees from Gaza into Sinai, or the influx of Hamas militants into Sinai, more than they fear a potential war with Israel. They know at the end of the day that Israel is a state. It's a wise state, actually. It knows when to fight and when not to fight. And now it's a rising line. It's very powerful. And they know that Egypt will have no chance to win a war with Israel. So by applying like basic game theory roles, it's almost impossible that either Egypt or Israel would want to get into war together. But the issue is that Egypt needs to show its people, to show the Arab audience, that it has power too, in contrast to the rising power of Israel, the rising strength of the Israeli military. Egypt also wants to show that to its people. Basically, it's a show. It's a necessary show, nothing else. Not meaning that it is actually preparing for a war with Israel. It's just a necessary show to show the Egyptians and Arabs that Egypt is still strong militarily or security-wise. But on the other hand, actually, no, Egypt is still very careful of keeping security and economic, of course, relationship with Israel, either in the Eastern Mediterranean or in Sinai.
Given Egypt's balancing act between the Arab world, Israel, and now even China and Russia, where do you think that Cairo is really headed in terms of its long-term regional alignment at this point?
Actually, this is the biggest concern. If Israel and the Western allies of Egypt, including the United States, needs to be concerned about something happening in Egypt right now, actually, it's not the military buildup, but it is the political and military alliance and even economic alliances that Egypt is ruthlessly making with the Eastern camp, the Eastern great powers like China and Russia. China has signed contracts in billions of dollars with Egypt to control the Suez Canal area. And also there are military deals, like armament deals are brewing now between Egypt and China. And there has always been militarization happening by Russia to Egypt. So this is really the main concern. Egypt, unfortunately, is giving up on its traditional Western alliance with Western superpowers like the United States, which actually gives Egypt a huge annual military aid of $1.3 billion. And just moving towards, and just actually moving further and further towards the Eastern camp of China and Russia.
All right, Dalia, I'd like to thank you so much for joining us.